Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, so far during this cold season of November and December, the jet stream pattern has looked much like what you see here. Our strongest winds have been just off of Japan. The flow is kind of split as it got over to the west coast of the United States. We've had a relatively weak subtropical jet stream that's been farther to the south, and things kind of gather in the North Atlantic and come racing over toward Europe. That's what the pattern has looked like. But there has been some systematic shifts to this that we're now starting to see in the forecast. So take a look at this. By the time we begin the new year, look at the nose of those stronger winds in the jet stream now getting over into the Gulf of Alaska. Instead of splitting across the west, they just continue. And that's going to mean a major change in the precipitation patterns across the western United States. We still have our stronger subtropical jet stream branch farther to the south, but now instead of just racing across the North Atlantic, look at what happens here. It comes off of the east coast of the United States and then splits. The split is now here in the Atlantic. And this particular configuration in the flow of the atmosphere, well, we define it using two different indices. They are the Arctic Oscillation and the North Atlantic Oscillation. Now, I want you to focus right here on these panels. Over on the left where the Arctic Oscillation is, notice that through the month of November, the values were high. That meant that we had lower atmospheric pressure over the Arctic. They have since dropped throughout the month of December and are now sitting right down here in our forecast, as you can see, to stay negative. That means we now have a ridge that's sitting, a big high pressure cell sitting at the surface over the Arctic. Now, I'm going to show you what this means in a few moments, but we got to pair that first with the North Atlantic Oscillation, which also in November had positive values. It then made a transition into December and has stayed here near zero or on the negative side of things and is forecast to continue to stay there. What's the translation of all of that? It means that the flow of the atmosphere through much of the next few weeks is going to look like this. So this is just a view from the GEFS model looking at troughs and ridges. And the jet stream is going to come screaming across the Pacific, often dive into troughs over the western part of the United States. They get reinvigorated over the Rocky Mountains, produce low pressure systems in the mid part of the U.S. that then race quickly here toward the north and east, drawing in an abundant amount of moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico. Why do they turn so hard to the north and east? Because the negative Arctic Oscillation and the negative North Atlantic Oscillation tend to favor large ridging here that happens over Greenland. And so the blocked up flow is downstream of the United States. And this shifts everything in terms of our temperature and precipitation patterns moving forward. So here's what it looks like. Next 15 days from the European model is over here on the right. On the left, same thing from the GFS. And what you notice is that that pattern tends to be wetter along the west coast, tends to be much wetter in the central United States with the Ohio River Valley, and also up toward the east. And even places where you're looking at this going, well, I see dry through the Canadian prairies, dry into the northern plains. I want you to understand that this is just barely on the drier side of average. We're going to have an active pattern moving forward, and therefore I expect to see multiple systems through the next 15 days coming across the United States. So that's really going to change this map. This is the National Snowfall Analysis map so far this year through the 27th. And you can pause it and take a closer look at the snowfall totals. But what I often like to do with this map is compare it to normal. And that's what we're going to do next. So this is accumulated snowfall departure from normal through December 27th. When you look at it again, it's in inches. So these would be the locations that have seen less than normal. And these would be the locations seeing more than normal. And you can kind of match up the color. And again, feel free to pause the video. I do want to point out a couple of things here. You can clearly see on the east coast the big nor'easter and what it did to the snowfall totals there. But do notice that in and around the Great Lakes states and the Great Lake basins, some places here really missing out on some snow. North Dakota really not seeing, despite even the blizzard that kind of went through there in South Dakota last week, still a total snowfall we're missing about a foot to foot and a half of snow. But come back out to the Sierra Nevada here. And why I like this change up in the pattern as we go through January is because in some places here we're looking at a 60 to 80 inch deficit in the Sierra Nevada mountains. And that's critical to accumulate that early season snowfall in that area. Well, the change up happens here. We're watching two troughs. Here's the lead trough that's going to be moving very slowly through Southern California over into the southern plains. It is actually going to eventually merge with this trough here, and they're quite separated now, but this one's going to flow quickly through the Gulf of Alaska, and they're going to team up right here in the midsection of the United States to produce two low pressure systems that are going to race up, like we talked about, toward the northeast. there is still a lot of uncertainty on how these two pieces are going to come together, because the kicker, if you will, is still way over here, just recently coming off of Japan. We haven't yet even gotten great observations of it and what it could potentially do. So what I'm about to share with you, I want you to understand there's a lot of uncertainty in this moving forward. But to get an idea about what these two things are going to be doing, I want to take you to a map that shows you cyclonic relative vorticity. Now, what does that mean? What we want to watch for is the areas of the colors here to move or advect. And wherever they move to, that's where we're going to have our best upward or rising motion. So can you see this ribbon of vorticity moving through Southern California? That's where our rising motion is going to be. We'll watch these two separate pieces come together. And I'm going to focus on these two right now. So let's click play and we'll pause it right here. Now, where are we? We are Tuesday evening. Here is that back trough. Here's the lead one. So you notice how the lead trough didn't move much, but the one that's behind it is going to catch up quickly. As we move this forward, notice we have two pieces here. Here is the lead trough, the southern half. There's the northern half. So I'll show you what each of these does. But this one's catching up very quickly. As we go through the day on Wednesday, now getting into Thursday morning, now look at that. The lead trough moved from Southern California to like Mexico and Texas. The trough behind it is now fully caught up to it and is, well, here in the United States, over parts of California and Nevada. Now, what'll be critical at this point is once we throw up some weather balloons into this and get to see what it really looks like, we will know if they do this bit of a dance here. Are you ready? You see, that trough digs to the south on Thursday afternoon. And what it does is, around the base of it, it has winds that basically come like this and start to push the lead wave, see it sitting here, farther to the north. Now, as that happens, these two kind of orbit around one another. So the lead trough here on Friday, January 1st in the afternoon is moving through Missouri and Illinois. So we're looking at a lot of rising motion here. But the secondary trough is on the back side of it on January 1st. And watch how it eventually kicks through Texas on Saturday the 2nd. And the two features move finally in tandem here by the time we get to Sunday over toward the mid-Atlantic. And I'm just going to stop it here to let you know that behind it, there's another trough and another, and there's even another one stacked up over here toward Japan. So the pattern stays open and moving. Now, with that out of the way, what has that given us here? Well, it's been kind of a fun morning to watch what the National Weather Service has been doing. I think I've been kind of up with them seeing these updates together. They changed this map 5 times between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., and I'm recording here at 4 a.m. And now what we have is a widespread area here, a winter weather advisories, winter storm watches here, and a winter storm warning in central Iowa. On the backside, where the initial trough is coming through, we have winter storm warnings in this part of the southern Sierra Nevada, and then getting here into Nevada and Utah. You can also see it here in the Colorado Rockies. Strong winds to the south, dense fog to the north. Okay, that's what the all hazards map looks like. Let's go see all of this moving together. You ready? High resolution NAM, we pause it right here early on the morning of Monday morning. So first system kicking through the northern part here of the northeast, scattered showers to the south. We will get some lake effect, the winds coming around the backside of this. But we're going to watch Southern California carefully because here's that lead wave throughout the day on Monday, bringing in some potentially heavier rain into Southern California and needed snow here to the Sierra Nevada. But the snow spreads through the Intermountain West, getting over to Colorado by this afternoon. As we work our way through the day on Monday into Monday night, now getting into Tuesday early in the morning, you can start to see now the transition from the scattered rain to the light freezing rain and then the snow pressing into parts of, well, Nebraska, South Dakota, back toward Wyoming and Colorado. Now remember, this is just the lead wave, the first one we're watching. This is Tuesday at 9 a.m., now working our way through midday. So you're watching these colors for the potential for ice. It'll be midday on Tuesday that we start to see the heavy snow moving into Iowa, out of Nebraska, and then into southern Minnesota and South Dakota. So this is Tuesday midday, working our way into Tuesday afternoon and evening. And now from northern Missouri into this section of Iowa, the threat for freezing rain exists. Heavy snows on the back side of this. I'll show you the snowfall amounts in a few moments. And then that system moves on through Wisconsin into the UP of Michigan and over to Michigan by This is 4 a.m. on Wednesday. At that point, basically here from I-80 down to maybe I-72, we're going to watch this area here for some freezing rain, snow on the backside, but look at the rain extending down here all the way through Missouri back into Texas. There is the potential for some of these storms to be strong down here as well. Remember, this is just part one of this system, and this stops at 6 a.m. on Wednesday morning. From there, I got to go over to the European to pick up where this is going to go from that point forward. So here we are, 6 a.m. on Wednesday morning. From there, here comes the second system. See it taking shape the farther to the south. And that system by Thursday morning here begins to start to pull to the north. Now, how much colder do we get on the back side of this to bring in some snow into this area is still up in the air. I'm only 84 hours into the forecast on Thursday morning, and we're going to watch carefully to see if we get some snowflakes into this area. But just like with the first system, this second one comes through, and on its northern side here on New Year's Day, we have to look out for the change over to sleet and freezing rain. It'll be cold enough on the backside to be bringing snow into Texas here, farther to the south. But this deep low then pulls to the north on Friday morning, and the current operational run from the European has got freezing rain on the northern side of it switching to rain. One thing is sure, though, this is a deep low, and there's going to be some strong winds associated with this. And look at Oklahoma and Kansas moving into northern Missouri. It'll be a mess in this part of Missouri and southern Iowa. And that system pulls through in the afternoon on New Year's Day. This is getting into the evening hours, and we'll have a big band of snow likely on the back side of this. And as we move this forward, that system then exits into the north and east, really into Quebec here, by the time we get into Saturday, January the 2nd. Meanwhile, just to show you again, our next system's coming into the northwestern part of the United States. Now that's just through the next 138 hours, Saturday afternoon. Let's go take a look at what we're anticipating for snowfall. Let's first do what we call deprog DT. Look at the prognosis and its change over time. So every one of these maps is giving you total snowfall up until Saturday afternoon. This is the latest from the European. But I want to step you back and show you what the previous run showed. So this is now the same time period. So this is up until Saturday at noon, and you can see the changes. So here's the current, here's the one before it, the one before that, the one before that. Look at this. I wish this one would have come true because I live right here and I would love to see some snow. But the latest model runs don't suggest it. And this was the runs that we had back on the 26th, focusing a lot more snow here in this part of Iowa. So what you saw is really dropping off those snowfall amounts here. Now, when you look at these maps, please remember two things. This is a 10-to-1 snow ratio that may not be valid given the liquid content in this and the potential for some ice. Secondly, we're only looking at this to see where the models are putting down the snow. And so therefore, let's take this view of it. This is the latest ECMWF. You've seen that one. In the upper right, I have the GFS. Now notice the GFS has got a deeper low that then cuts a little bit farther to the south and east of the track from the ECMWF. Hence, instead of seeing a lot more freezing rain in that part of Missouri, it may be more on the sleet and snow side of things. That's one major difference. But the Germany icon model looks much more like the ECMWF, and even the Canadian model here from the CMC, it's got a little bit different track on the snow, and it's really the bigger outlier of all of them, but I wanted to at least include it in the analysis. The ECMWF of the last two runs has been the most consistent. So let's do one last thing here on snow. This over here on the left is looking at the probability of getting 3 inches of snowfall between now and Saturday afternoon. I do expect this to continue to change as we watch these troughs merge in the midsection of the country throughout this week. But this is our best guidance. And over here on the right, that is the probability of getting 6 inches between now and Saturday afternoon. So pause the video and take a closer look. These are what the latest outlooks are looking like. From here, let's talk about ice, because the European is looking at the potential for accumulating freezing rain looking something like this. And I'm just going to tell you that if you're in this corridor in through here, we have to be paying very close attention through each model run this week to see how this evolves and changes, because there's some significant ice accumulation there and also farther to the south. And yes, some of this extends into southern Wisconsin and over into Michigan as well. So these next two systems coming through are packing quite a punch. Liquid side of this. Look to the south where we could see some thunderstorms out of this. The potential here for picking up, possibly 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. And then again over here in parts of Alabama, Georgia, getting up the Appalachian Mountains. Yeah, there's potential for some heavier rainfall in the southeast out of this. In California, I love seeing this. Love seeing these amounts here through the next 7 days. And week 2 looks even better. First, before I show you week 2 though, just to give you an idea of how much this precipitation is compared to normal, this is the week 1 precipitation anomaly map. Now let's go week 2. Remember this from the beginning? The jet stream flow comes screaming around these troughs, active as it jumps over the mountains here in the Rockies, and then goes back up into that that big height anomaly, which is the negative phase of the NAO. Sorry about that. But that flow coming into the west, take a look at the week 2 precipitation anomalies. We have wanted this for a while. You know the extensive drought in the western part of the United States. While this is not strong subtropical jet stream flow, it's getting far enough to the south to bring up those precipitation amounts, and we like this. We need to see this. It will remain active, though, in the Midwest, in the Ohio Valley, in the Great Lake Basin, getting into week 2 as well, which goes all the way out to January 11th. So let's watch these temperatures evolve here, looking at the daily high temperatures where the color shading represents the temperature departure from normal. We're starting off here on Monday, so we can see the temperatures here across the United States. Let's go from Monday into Tuesday. Now remember, it's at this point that the first system is pulling through here, so you can see the cooler anomalies here, but the warmer conditions to the south where we are expecting those thunderstorms. Going from Tuesday into Wednesday, you can now see the colder air on the back side of this. And now we get into the end of the week. So this is Thursday. Major warm-up of the east, but on the back side of this, here on New Year's Eve, much colder conditions here in the central part of the United States. From there, let's go into Friday's temperature. So this would be New Year's Day, a warm one here across the east compared to normal. But that's as that system exits toward the north and east. And you can see much cooler conditions back in the central part of the United States. Here is Saturday, and then getting into Sunday. We notice we keep seeing the above average temperatures here in the northern part of the United States. As we look on out here into the day 5 through 10 time period, we're starting to see the colder air really kind of gather once again here between Alaska and northern Canada as that as that negative North Atlantic oscillation keeps pushing up the warmth here into Greenland. So with the warmer conditions here, does that stick around? Well, this is getting out now into days 10 through 15. We certainly see the warmer conditions in both models to the east, but you can start to see the cooler air coming out at times on the back side of this. And that's what I want to take a look at, because we've been keeping you updated here on the position and strength of the polar vortex. For the first week of January, a large ridge builds into the stratosphere here, and it splits the polar vortex, it appears, into 2 separate pieces. That's going to dramatically weaken the winds. And look at this. That is the forecast. In fact, I should probably draw that in black. You can see that the winds, the zonal winds that are typically here, are going to be weakened. So the polar vortex is going to go through a disruption. Now, remember, it takes several days for these disruptions to extend from the stratosphere into the troposphere and give us some colder air. But as I look out longer term, and I see that the La Nina is likely peaking, and I see strong trade winds here, but on the backside we had seen some weakening and some westerly winds, I now start to see, well, what's that going to do to the MJO? Now, it's a bit of a mess, but can you kind of see how the forecast wants to pull it out over here at some point over the next few weeks into phases 2 and 3? Well, this is down here what phase 2 looks like, and this is phase 3. And we tend to see that likes to let a bit more colder air out here while it keeps the warmth in this area. So I'm trying to see if this is teaming up with the North Atlantic oscillation. Because as I go out there into the month of January, looking at the whole of the month of January, the weeklies are showing with better cold air here, warmth there, and the GFS extended is also showing the cold air coming out at times here with the warmth of the East Coast into the Canadian Maritime. So there's some consistency here that we're seeing as we look out into the month of January. But I'll come back to the first thing I started with. That change in the Pacific jet stream, the nose of those stronger winds getting farther to the east, I think it's going to be critical to everything we're going to talk about from here on out. So be sure to watch my second video on South America, which will get posted here in a few moments. But I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Thank you.